With the rise of ChatGPT and other models fine-tuned on human feedback, so many are building applications on top of these foundational models. Some are exploring, and some even exploit, the capabilities of these models. There are already benchmarks showing that these models are able to do calculations, converse, summarize, translate, and a whole bunch of other tasks. I wanted to take an unorthodox approach and test if I can get ChatGPT to do movie recommendations. One thing to highlight is that I did this as a fun exercise, with no intention of using this as a production solution. Here's what I did. First, I asked ChatGPT to generate a dataset. It did a pretty decent job. Note that I've provided the context so that the dataset is in the format I expect. This includes things like the movies, the usernames, etc. Initially, it kept generating a dataset with all users having watched the same set of movies. But in real world, the relationship between users and movies is pretty sparse, so I instructed the model to respect this. In terms of the bias, the model is quite biased towards Western names. At no point it tried to diversify the generated names. Here you can see I specified the names. But this was the case even when I didn't specify the names. In this dataset, Jack hasn't watched The Avengers. So I wanted to know if ChatGPT can compute the ratings using a collaborative filtering approach. In collaborative filtering, we look at similar users who has watched the same movie and compute the potential rating for unseen movies for a given user. The expectation here is that the model realized that it can use collaborative filtering and provide a step-by-step solution. Here's what the actual computation and the results look like. Here you can see the ratings matrix, similarities of Jack to the other users, and finally a predicted rating as a weighted average of the ratings of other users, weighted by user similarity to Jack. Sadly, ChatGPT didn't fulfill this request. It thought that there should be a data point in the dataset that should explain this. It also says it cannot predict with certainty. This makes me wonder if this model has high-level understanding of the task, which transcends language understanding. I tried hinting ChatGPT to compute the rating, also using the trick of including "let's think about this step by step," as many recommend. OpenAI suggests that this dramatically improves the model's mathematics capabilities on the benchmark of the world maths problems from 18% to a massive 79%. In this case, it didn't work. It seems to think that it should only use Jack's movie preferences and not a collaborative approach. So I decided to provide the steps myself, because that's one of the other things researchers have figured out to work well. When we do this, looks like ChatGPT does a good job. It has provided a step-by-step solution to what we have asked this time. But closer inspection suggested that these computations are wrong. For example, if you copy and paste the values in the second line, you get 9, not 8.95. I tried to see if ChatGPT can self-correct this. This time, it looks like it understands it made a mistake. However, in this attempt, it tries to use the data from a user that hasn't watched the movie. This behavior is different to the previous behavior we have seen. This is probably caused by the use of the hyperparameter of temperature. This encourages the model to provide stochastic outputs when providing a response. No matter how much I tried to nudge this model towards the correct solution, it couldn't fix its problem. Now let's try to further interrogate this model to learn about its strengths and weaknesses in this context. I tried to ask it how it arrived at the cosine similarities. as they seem to have the wrong solution as well. One thing to highlight here is that ChatGPT is remarkably good at retrieving data from tables and matrices it has seen. As you can see, all the rows here are correct and in line with the matrix. However, the final solution is still wrong. Now I wanted to see how well it remembered the ratings matrix we generated. So I asked, what is our original ratings matrix? This is where things go wrong. Looks like ChatGPT has hallucinated an incorrect ratings matrix. Now, if you ask the same question you did before, it'll end up using the hallucinated ratings matrix instead of the original. In my eyes, this is a big problem. I've heard a lot of people talking about the paradigm shift ChatGPT enables in writing computer programs. Throughout the history, a computer program used to be a set of deterministic, specific instructions that led to an output. ChatGPT enables to reach the output using natural language without the overhead of understanding syntax or programming languages. In a programming language, if a variable goes out of scope, you get an error. However, here, after ChatGPT has lost track of the ratings matrix, it hallucinated a new one. If this to happen in production settings, this is a big risk and may have dire consequences. This is a good lesson why these LLMs are still not quite ready for autonomy, rather should be an assistant. But there's still a lot of research to make these models better, so they'll keep getting better. The other big thing is the timid, sycophantic nature of these models. If you insist the model is wrong, it will keep accepting that it's wrong and try to generate a new response. I have seen this behavior even when the answer is right. Even when you say that I, human, can be wrong, and feel free to point that I'm wrong, it'll keep admitting that it's wrong. The conclusion here is that if you ask ChatGPT to do recommendations without context or help, it wouldn't understand the request, nor the steps it needs to follow. However, by providing the steps required, it can do a good job at creating the step-by-step solution. But keep in mind that the final answers were wrong, so it's questionable if the model has the mathematical capabilities that we claim. Next, the model can and will accidentally hallucinate. This is potentially happening when some parts of the conversation goes out of context. And it's hard to know when this happens, as it silently fails. This is a red flag showing that these models are not yet ready to be used by themselves and should be used with care and rigor. Furthermore, the model is quite sycophantic, which makes me wonder if the model can be used in an objective fashion. At the time of this video, we already have GPT-4, and according to OpenAI, it's a much better model. For example, GPT-4 hallucinates less than ChatGPT from evaluation benchmarks. Furthermore, GPT-4 has a multimodal version which can take images and text, which is probably reinforcing its understanding and responses. There was another recent paper called Recommendation as Language Processing, RLP, a unified, pre-trained, personalized, prompt and predict paradigm. This model is named P5, and it has been pre-trained on various recommendation-specific tasks to perform recommendations using natural language. For example, this paper says that this model outperforms some of the best-in-business approaches, such as BERT4rec, SASRec, on sequential recommendation tasks. You can find the links to these resources in the description. Finally, I did this as a fun exercise. In production settings, there are millions and billions of interactions, so you cannot provide such a dataset as an input to ChatGPT. Furthermore, latencies of these models, due to the autoregressive nature that generate responses, are quite high. Also, we saw that they tend to hallucinate and has less sense about rightness or mistakes of a solution. But, as I said, with more research and understanding of these models, they will keep becoming better and better. If you like to see more videos on machine learning and artificial intelligence, or tools such as Google Cloud Platform or TensorFlow, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Deep Learning Hero. I will see you again soon with another exciting video.